Okay, so good morning. Our lecture for today will be sexual assault, but we will be focusing on rape. So this is how Dr. Orapilia did it. She was the previous teacher before I took over. So she gave me her slides and yun yung i-discuss natin today. We'll be focusing on rape because regardless of the complaint of the patient, these are also things that you would check for possible sexual assault. So rape is defined in the Revised Penal Code as carnal knowledge of a woman. So one thing that you have to remember is rape has been removed from personal crimes and now it is considered as crimes against person. So it doesn't limit itself to carnal knowledge of women. Actually, rape can happen to men as well or to boys as well. So as you will see later on, merong definition ng that would cover them. So usually there's force, threat, or intimidation sometimes when a person is made unconscious or deprived of reason. That's why, di ba, minsan maririnig niyo some women are drugged or some people have been drugged. And now, pinalitan na to, no? Please take note, yung rape, yung, ito, statutory rape to, yung under 12 years of age. But, actually, less than 16, considered na siya as rape because of our new law. So, this was the amended law already, but tinaasan na kasi yung age of sexual consent. So, dati, 12 and below, that is what you will consider as rape. Ngayon, someone who is less than 16 years old, even if they seemingly approve of the sexual conduct, a lot of people would say, boyfriend kasi, girlfriend kasi, but just the mere fact that a person is less than 16 years of age could already be considered as rape. Meaning, the one who had sexual intercourse with someone who is less than 16 would have to prove that they were not doing rape. Okay? So, any sexual intercourse with someone who is less than 16 years of age, ang presumption is there is rape. So, our current anti-rape law is RA 8353. I'm not gonna ask you the number, but when you're about to take your physician licensure exam, please check if they are asking you the Republic Act numbers. But for me, for our exam purposes, I'm fine with you being able to recall what's the gist or what's being said in that law. So, in Anti-Rape Law of 1997, dinagdagan niya. So, it now included fraudulent machinations or grave abuse of authority as a circumstance of rape. So, meaning they don't need to force. Just the fact that they have a higher position than the other person, no, could also be considered as an element of rape. Kasi dati parang they would have to drug someone, they would have to force. Minsan, it's not outright forcing, but just the fact that this person is a higher up could be considered as rape as well. So, kunyari sa workplace, may mas mataas yung position, kahit hindi naman niya tutukan ng baril yung worker, it's still possible na isipin na parang siyang abuse of authority. So, it's also part of rape now. So, dinagdagan na siya, no? It's not just limited to females. Now, males could also be raped because inserting a penis into another person's mouth or anal orifice, inserting any instrument or object into the genital or anal orifice of another person. So, for example, can there be rape between a woman? The woman will be perpetuating the rape to a man? Yes. If they insert an instrument or object to the anal orifice of the man. Okay? But of course, you have to take the entire circumstance, no, kung ba't nangyari yun to determine whether or not there was rape. Because it's possible, but it doesn't happen that often. Okay? So, RA 8505 is the Rape Victim Assistance Act. So, we have now rape crisis centers in every province and city in a government hospital or health clinic. So ideally, there should be a child and women health protection desk for government hospitals for each. At least, no, for at least a government hospital in cities or health clinics in every province. So they will be trained. The physician, police officer must be of the same gender as the offended party, ideally. So we should have like a male doctor and a female person assigned. So these doctors will undergo training. Also have RA 9262, which is the Anti-Violence Against Women and Children of 2004. You might have heard this as VAUSI. So ito yung tinatawag na VAUSI. This is one of the ways wherein women could get support from them. So they would file anti-violence against women and children. So this is not just limited for mga sexual violence. This also includes psychological violence. So they say that a spouse, no, a male spouse who does not provide for his children, or the wife, could be considered as doing psychological violence to their family. In UPPGH, that is where the Child Protection Unit is. We hold trainings for healthcare professionals who would want to focus on violence against children and women, on how to conduct physical examinations. There has to be consent. You ask for the consent for the physical examination. If there's a victim, you still have to ask for their consent. It's not mandatory that they undergo physical examination. So if they don't want to have physical examination, then that's also their right. They would have to sign, ideally, a waiver. Ideally, we want that the victim will be of the same sex as that of the physician who would do the physical examination, but there would be situations wherein a female physician is unavailable, so they would have to sign a waiver in that case, no, the patient or the victim, the alleged victim. So we will check for the history. So we would ask them possible date and time of commission, location, and who are the perpetrators, nature of the physical contact, account of violence. For the history, try not to make it really extensive. Our focus is more on the physical examination, because everything that you get from the patient is just hearsay because you weren't there when it happened. So as much as we feel bad for the victim, whatever they say for the history, it's just information coming from them, information that you weren't able to perceive. So ang focus natin when you see patients of sexual assault is really to check for any physical injuries or possible signs of rape, no? Not so much of the history kasi sila lang yung nakakaalam nun, them and the perpetrator. So but we want to check, no, if it would be consistent with the details that they're saying. So nature of physical contact, account of violence inflicted, weapons, drugs, alcohol, etc. And how was clothing removed, condom, because if there was condom used, then obviously most likely walang semen unless the condom got broken, okay, or nabutas siya. Subsequent activities like bathing, douching, wiping, changing of clothing, okay, kasi syempre the secretions will not be there anymore if, for example, or possible that limited na lang yung secretion na makuha, or na mix na siya with something else if they did douching. So subsequent symptoms: bleeding, discharge, sores or pain, urinary symptoms, anal pain or bleeding, abdominal pain. So those are the things that you will need to check. So be familiar with that. Examination. So of course, we want a room with privacy. We would ask for their permission if we can take photographs, vital signs. We check for the vital signs. We inspect, and then we do the genital examination. So this is what you would expect. Probably you already have undergone your OB/GYN class, so you are familiar with what you're gonna check. So this is for the female victim. These are the organs, body parts that you would need to check. Any signs of forced entry, mga bruises, no? And this for the anal verge, no? For the anus, for those who are checking male patients, diba? So you would see if there were forced entry. So these are the different hymen, no? So there are cribriform, crescentic, annular, septate, perforate. So you would want to familiarize yourself with that because those are asked in the exam. So this is the differences, no? For kasi unfortunately, no, there are really evil people who perpetuate this crime, not just for adult women, but includes neonate, child, adolescent. So you should be familiar with how the body parts look like. And this is how a crescentic hymen looks like. So, this is my mound, no? Ito yung we would expect, no, from a crescentic hymen. This is the annular hymen. Maganda, you're very lucky because the slides of Dr. Orofilia, she included real pictures from her practice, no? So, there would be perihymenal bands. Kasi, may butas-butas siya, but there are perihymenal bands that you would expect. There are fleshy tags. So, this is like a focus of an annular hymen. So, at 5 o'clock, there's a notch. So, ganyan kasi how you describe it, no? So, imagine a clock. So, at the 5 o'clock area, there's a notch. It's friable, purple, posterior fourchette. So, this is how you describe, no? A hymen. So, example, no? Pink, thick, redundant. And at 5 o'clock, there's a laceration. So, we also have, this is the attenuation, no? Like the hymen. There's a narrowing of the hymen. This is the marked and immediate anal dilatation. So, for the laboratory examinations, you swab for any presence of semen for cases within 72 hours. So, ideally, mas maganda sana we're able to swab within the golden period, which is 72 hours, because after that, the sperm dies. Okay? So, screening tests include ultraviolet light scanning, and then we have the Barbarius test, tinatanong to sa exam. So, they detect the presence of spermine, picric acid, and then we look for needle-shaped yellowish spermine crystals. We also do the fluorescent test. So, we detect the presence of choline. We're gonna use potassium iodide, and what we want to expect would be the brown rhombic or needle-shaped crystal of choline per iodide. Other screening tests that we can do is the seminal acid phosphatase. So, a high concentration of SAP 400 to 8,000 King Armstrong units. So, that's the unit that we use for this kind of test. Its activity is greater than 500 to 1,000 than any other fluid. So, this will be active if we have seminal acid present. Other screening tests that we can do, so marami namang pwedeng gawin, no? It depends on the situation. Other markers that we can look for. So, ito yung markers, yung hinahanap natin. Creatinine phosphokinase and lactase dehydrogenase isoenzyme. So, pag nag-screen tayo, syempre, it's possible that it could still be other things, so we want to confirm it. Especially if rape, we're talking about rape because the penalty will be really high. So, I mean, severe, no? If it's proven. So, you want to confirm microscopic examination for motile and non-motile sperm. Obviously, pag nakita nyo na din, malamang meron, no? Non-cellular semen markers. But all of this should be done within 72 hours. So, P30 prostate specific antigen. We check for glycoprotein from the prostate epithelial cells, which are found in the seminal fluid, male urine, and blood. So, it's not found in any other body fluid besides the semen. So, it's a confirmatory test for the presence of semen. It doesn't cross-react with other body fluids. So, that's one thing na maganda sa kanya. Kahit mamixan siya ng other body fluid, once it's positive, it means that there had been semen kasi nga hindi naman siya nagko-cross-react with other body fluids. So, other exams would be blood grouping, but it's only done among secretors of soluble ABO agglutinogens in body fluid. So, the secretors comprise 80% of the population. So, there are a lot of other exams, no? So, enzyme typing, so phosphoglutamase, it's polymorphic in all populations, and it's subdivided in 10 distinct subgroups. We have PEP-A peptidase, and it's polymorphic in many racial groups. It's commonly employed as a discriminator in cases where the perpetrator is black. Some of these tests, they're not applicable once you miss the golden period. So be familiar with the golden period. So the post-coital interval. So after the coitus, no, we have to do this as soon as possible. So you would know kung ano yung pwede nyong gawin if depende sa time. So for P30, it's lost within 24 hours of deposition in vaginal vault. So hindi mo siya pwedeng gawin after that kasi it's gonna be useless. SAP is normally lost 48 hours post-coitus. PGM drops below the threshold within 6 hours. So ito, you really have to do it real quick. So be familiar with the time element. PEP-A is not usually recovered after 3 hours. So it's very important that you take the history in a sense that you would want to determine yung possible time of the offense so that you would know the exams that you will be doing to the patient. So, like I said, the sperm, no, usually they do not persist after 72 hours. If you still want to do the following, even if the 72-hour period has lapsed already, you might do other exams naman na hindi very time sensitive. Okay? Because there could still be remnants, no? But ideally, you want to do it within 72 hours. We do microscopic examinations for trichomonas, for Monilia, for STDs. It's possible kasi that the perpetrator would also have STD. And even the victim, we check gram stain, culture sensitivity, pregnancy test, ultrasound, DNA analysis, and we check for drugs and alcohol. So, if in case we did not find anything, does not mean that there hasn't been sexual abuse. It's possible that we have missed the golden period, but there could be normal or non-specific findings. Again, even if you feel bad for the patient, no, you're not supposed to write anything if you didn't really appreciate anything. Don't worry, because rape can also be like damage, for example, could still be proven through psychological examination. Like, it doesn't mean that rape didn't happen if there aren't any signs of forced entry. So these are just normal or non-specific findings. So please be familiar with them. So check if there's erythema in the vestibule. And if we're talking about a male victim, check the perianal area. Is there increased vascularity? Kasi syempre, pag merong signs of trauma, 'di ba? Mamamagayan. So labial adhesions, 'di ba? Pag nag-scar, sometimes they form adhesions. So pwedeng nagkasugat and then now there are adhesions. Vaginal discharge, which could either be blood or like possibly pwedeng may semen or STD. Friability of the posterior fourchette, thickened hymen, vaginal bleeding, anal dilatation with stool. For those who got raped through their anus, no? Suggestive of abuse or sexual contact. So I mean, it's not 100% sure, but it could suggest that there had been abuse or sexual contact. So marked immediate dilatation of anus. Kasi syempre pwede naman na other causes of dilatation, but it could be suggestive, especially if it aligns with the story of the victim. Hymenal notch or cleft in the inferior portion of the hymenal rim, extending nearly to the vaginal floor. Acute abrasions, lacerations, bruising of labia, perihymenal tissues or perineum. Bite marks or suction marks on genitalia or inner thighs. Syempre, may mga force. Scar or laceration of the posterior fourchette, so accidental injury, and then perianal scar. Although this could also be present for Crohn's disease. This one is definite evidence of abuse or sexual contact. So if there's clear evidence of blunt force or penetrating trauma, so mismong hymen na lacerate, obvious, acute siya. Anal lacerations, ecchymosis of the hymen, may mga parang pasa-pasa siya na maliliit. Okay? Positive presence of spermatozoa, pregnancy, and STD. Especially if we're talking about really young victims, diba? Bakit naman magkaka-STD yan out of nowhere? So, for paternity, we do check paternity in the civil code, 180 days following the celebration of marriage, within 300 days following the dissolution or separation of spouse, And if there's no physical impossibility of access, then we will presume that kung sino yung asawa niya during that time, then that is the father. Of course, you could always still request for DNA analysis, but yeah, that's the presumption, no? And we also check for the blood type sometimes. So what are the other tissues that we examine if we want to check, no, for paternity? Blood, semen, hair, saliva. So if we're gonna do DNA analysis, these are the samples that we get. So if the DNA profile of evidence is different from the suspected source, then the evidence absolutely did not come from the suspected individual. So that's the result that you will get, no? But if the DNA profile of the evidence matches that of the individual is not excluded. Odds of the suspect as a source of evidence is made. There are 3 possible results for DNA analysis. Sometimes a specimen is inadequate in size, so it has been degraded, it has been contaminated. So yung isa, totally different siya. So that's one of the results. And the other result is that they match. So DNA profiles match, and it can be due to samples are from the same person. Siyempre, di ba? Parang niloko pala tayo. Same person lang pala yung inanalyze. They come from different people, but an error was made in the collection in the lab, or 2 individuals have the same profile. Identical twins, and insufficient number of tests as to differentiate between the 2. So the 2 common methods that we use for DNA analysis would be RFLP, or restriction fragment length polymorphism, and then of course we have our PCR, the very trusty PCR. So most of the chromosomes serve no known function. There are multiple regions consisting of multiple copies of identical base sequences arranged in a tandem. So we're gonna look for tandem repeat or repeated sequences and the variable number of tandem repeats. So there are areas of repeated sequences. So tandem repeat are repeated sequences. VNTR are areas of repeated sequences. And for each person, magkakaiba yung area ng umuulit. So that's how we will try to determine. So in VNTR region, 500 to 10,000 base pairs usually range in tandemly repeated units of 50 to 60 base pair. So it's used in DNA typing because of the large number of alleles and tandem repeats. The locus may have 100 or more alleles, although 50 to 25 can be distinguished. So this is what we use. This is the premise, no, why we use our FLP analysis to its full advantage. So RFLP is the first method of DNA profiling. It's used widely, and yun nga, we cut the DNA into fragments by restriction enzyme. So ikakat siya, and then fragments are detected and identified using electrophoresis and radioactive DNA probes. So per probe, a piece about 50 base pairs, which recognizes a specific locus by complementary pairing. So the single strand probe binds a single strand DNA to produce a stable probe, binds with single strand DNA to produce a stable double strand molecule. And then we do X-ray, and then the bars, no, pag nakita kayo ng result, bars on the film are interpreted, and then the procedure is repeated for the next locus. PCR naman, now we try to amplify or copy short sequences of DNA. So, ang advantage niya over RFLP is it's simple, it's easily carried out, we get the results in a short time, and it permits analysis of tiny amounts of DNA kasi you make multiple copies of it. But the disadvantage is it's very susceptible to contamination. Most PCR loci have fewer alleles than VNTR, and some of the loci are functional genes. So, short tandem repeats is a PCR technique. Repeat unit is normally 2 to 6 base pairs, and we find 1 short tandem repeat every 300 to 5,000 base pairs. Okay? So a battery of 4 VNTR loci is equal to 8 to 9 short tandem repeat loci. So there's an exclusion rate of 99%. We use the MSTR, mitochondrial DNA, for maternal kinship if you want to determine kung mommy niya ba yun. No, and then Y, that of course, diba, we have XY, and so we will use the YSTR, diba, XY pagka male, to DNA of the Y chromosome for paternal kinship. So that's it. Please just make sure to familiarize yourself with the DNA tests. Medyo mahirap lang siya. It's more on memory work. So please make sure that you familiarize yourself. We might have a quiz. I'm not sure kung next meeting. Probably next meeting. So, but don't worry because I will tell you kung ano yung mga covered. Tsaka madali lang siya so that you will just have a source of grades para din ma-review rin kayo. No? So, probably this will be first week of October. I'm not sure if that's gonna be your long exam also. But, possible din na next week. Pero, yun nga, I'll tell you naman kung ano yung coverage.